Alright, guys, daily episode. We are at September 10th of 2023. It's almost 9 a.m. We got about 4 minutes. I woke up, had some coffee. I got this new blend from Sprouts, Hawaiian something. I can't remember the name. I think it starts with a C. It's not Cleavers. It's like some brand that has like an American sounding kind of Western kind of name. What are we up to, guys? What's your Sunday looking like? What you got going on? I had a very restful weekend. I had to kind of spend a lot of time with some reevaluation of things, trying to kind of pinpoint what I need to, change or try to change. And, this 2023 is becoming a season of adaptation. It's like there's a lot of this sink or swim. Gotta learn the new phase of what's coming up now, figure out how to deal with it, move on. Like, there's no more time for me to sit and wallow and complain. I mean, yes, I will wallow and complain on here, and then past that, that's about it. That's all. Like, I'm not usually gonna put too much more energy into it. I'm talking about things like, what a lot of people are experiencing, myself included. All this student loan forgiveness kind of hype that's been going on this year. A lot of us saw our credit scores increase, because a lot of stuff was like $10,000 worth was kind of just like taken off the table at one point. And then now they're like, okay, you got to start paying that interest. And then coming up soon, student loan repayments are going to start coming back due. I mean, they're bringing this out in a time when people haven't really gotten situated with their work yet. People aren't really solid with their jobs. They're not really solid yet. They're still struggling. And now it's like, oh, let's put this other expense on people. Now, why is it a big deal? I mean, a lot of people, if you have federal student loans, I mean, technically, there are ways to kind of get around not really needing to pay it, but your credit score is going to get affected. So what does that have to do with anything? Your credit score, just in general, is going to impact a couple things that might be required for a lot of people, which would be, for a lot of people, necessities, your housing and your transportation opportunities. You need to get around usually. Most of us don't work from home. Even if we do, I'd say for mental health reasons. A lot of us like variety and to leave the house. I like to get out of the house at least every other day, if not every day. Even if I'm just recording podcast episodes, I'd rather go down the street and sit in my car in a parking lot, or go to the beach and sit in the parking lot at the beach and record, than sit in my bedroom and record. Like, the thing that gets in the way is the heat, or people, like, if I roll down the windows, now there's people who can hear everything I'm saying, and it's kind of awkward. If other people, I've noticed a lot of people sitting in their cars. Like, that's something I've done for like quite a few years now, since 2020, since the Rona. I actually think I got into that habit way back in community college, when I used to have this weird break that was like 3.5 to 4 hours or so between classes. And, I didn't really like to go all the way home. I think I usually would go home because my house was almost like 30 minutes away from the school. So I could come home, rest for like a couple hours, and then drive back, and then have to drive back after that class. Or, sometimes I'd have these classes with 1 or 2 hour breaks between, and I would just take a break. I would take a nap, between classes. I used to sleep in the library, sleep in my car. I would find places just to like relax, because, if you have a long day, it's like sometimes I didn't want to stay and study in the library. Like I would study, but some days, I was just tired and I was like, you know what, I'll just take a freaking nap. Like, what difference does it make? And that's one thing that I noticed, which was weird, is like in my early college days, I did nap a lot more. I don't know when it started happening that I couldn't really take naps too easily, but yeah, when I was in college, especially community college, yeah, even up through grad school, I was able to take naps. And I still had problems with insomnia. I always have since I was a kid. But yeah, so yeah, but mostly, I got to thinking today, like not just today, I think last week it kind of hit me. Um, I have, I value my friendships, I value my relationships with people. I don't mind people venting to me. That's not something that I mind. But sometimes I'm noticing with a select few people, it's not many people, but there's a select few people that, it's a little hard for me because they're having a hard time, and that's, unfortunate. I don't want them to be having such a hard time, but, they're kind of putting a lot of their hard time on me. They're not treating me poorly, but it's just intense, and, one person prefers to kind of meet in person and unload, and there's a couple other people who prefer to, send me messages that, in a way, I've started to find it kind of triggering in a lot of ways. Like, last week, I wasn't really feeling my best. Like, last Friday, I specifically remember not feeling too great. I remember, like, Thursday, Friday, my sleep had been off. And I remember one day just feeling just so depleted. I was like, man, this is, like, the worst I felt in a very long time. And I remember it was to the point that last Saturday, I kind of just, disconnected from a lot of things for a long time. And that was my disconnection day. Not yesterday, but last Saturday, I was very much like, I just need a break. Like, there was no way I could keep pushing forward. I had mentioned, to some friends, I was like, oh yeah, like, because it was a 3-day weekend, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hit the ground running on, like, let's say Sunday or Monday or whatever. I was like, I'm just gonna take tonight, rest, and then just like jump back into it. And I ended up taking like a whole 3-day weekend. Like, I felt so exhausted and worn down by just things not being balanced for a few days that I was wiped out. And I had a friend that had some things going on that they started kind of mentioning to me, and I was kind of like, okay, like, I kind of was testing the waters, and I was kind of like, all right, like, let me be empathic and just kind of like share that I'm concerned, and I hope that they're doing okay. And they kind of mentioned, oh, like, yeah, like, I'm doing great, like, this is the best thing that could have happened to me, because of, they find it that there's some benefit to it for their motivation. The things that they're dealing with, they're getting motivation from it, and going to use that momentum to kind of do more of what they need to get where they're trying to go. So I was like, okay, that was good to hear. But then, there was more of the, like, just, I don't have energy to give, guys. I don't have energy to give. I'm not doing that whole thing anymore where it's like I'm going to be 110% available for everybody who needs me at the time they need me. If I'm depleted and I'm done and I'm wiped, I'm not answering my phone for anybody who needs anything from me. Like if you need to just talk and just let's have fun online or talk and just catch up, cool. But if I know that there's a specific problem that somebody has and they need me to be talking to them, I don't think I'm the person they need to talk to. Like I'm barely treading water myself. I think this is the time, this is the season. If you need mental health support, I'm not your person to be supporting your emotional, any kind of damage that's going on currently or trauma from the past or anything. I can't help. I can't help. I don't have it in me anymore. I can't do it. I'd love to be that person who's there for everybody, but I've told people multiple times, I'm like, I will talk to people. Like, I don't mind people just being like, oh, today sucks, or like my boss is like shitty and like tell me what's up. Like, I want to know. But, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, if you're blowing up my phone about it and, all that, it's like, what am I going through? I'm going through things too. I don't want to be like, okay, I'm waking up, dealing with my own energy, just trying to get rolling for the day, trying to make sure that I'm like at my best, and then all of a sudden like somebody's bombarding me with their problems and they need to talk and they need all, it's like, you don't need this from me. It's convenient for you, but you can talk to a professional about these things, because I'm not going to be the one. Like, once in a while, it's like, okay, I know everybody's going to have a problem once in a while, and I don't want to be a bad friend, and I don't want to sound like I don't want to help people, because I still do, and I do still have compassion and love and care for people. But if it gets to the point where it's like every day or everything that I hear from somebody is like a negative thing, and then they want to like share with me all the negativity of their life, how everything's going wrong, and every single day of every little issue that goes wrong, I don't want to, I don't have the energy for that. I look at it and I just don't even read the whole thing anymore. I'm like, whatever. And if it gets to a point, where people are kind of like, I check my phone and there's like 15 missed messages from somebody who's just unloading, on me about all that they're going through, I'm just probably gonna, when I block people, it's not out of like, I don't want to talk to them ever. It's just like, in my head, I'm like, it's temporary just for the messages to stop, so I don't have to see any of the new ones. Because if I find the messages start to get triggering, I'm like, I will just stop, because it's stressing me out. So to stop myself from having to be exposed to more messages like that, I will basically stop, stop, allowing the text to come through until I feel like I want to just be like, hey, what's up, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with it, I give people plenty of my time and energy, plenty of my support, plenty of my, I try to help people, I give people a lot of time, the best of what I've got, and I'm not giving that back to myself. I'm giving that to all the other people that know that they can kind of just be kind of like, that's what they're used to, relying on me or leaning on me for that. It's like, at this point, I am not doing that. I stopped doing that last week. This week, I might continue to stop doing that. People might get offended by it, but you know what? I'm not your therapist. I'm not your pastor. I'm your friend, and if somebody requires me as their friend to be overwhelmed by their problems, then that is something they need to kind of deal with on their own. That has nothing to do with me. That's their own issue of overstepping. I'll usually tell people, like, yeah, I'm slammed, yeah, I'm busy, like, I'm just depleted, and if people don't kind of get what that means, and they just keep on and keep on and keep on, it's like, well, you're not listening, so goodbye for a second, goodbye for a couple days. I'll be back when I feel like I have energy to talk, you know and I have another friend that really likes to have these debates. They've been, I don't know what they're on lately, but not drugs, that's not what I meant. I just meant, like, I don't know what they're on, like why they're kind of like acting the way they've been acting lately. All right, and I've got another friend, this one who I said I don't really know what they're on lately. Like, they don't mind me kind of podcasting about certain topics. I'm not sharing their name or anything, but it kind of got to a point recently where I was kind of like with this person, I've regularly just kind of like blocked them. Like, it ends up happening almost once a week, once every other week. I end up just blocking this person out because every time I look at my phone, I've got like 20, 30 missed messages that I just don't have the time to read, and I'm not going to read most of them because they kind of tend to be about the same thing. They're always just, there's just so much disappointment that this person has towards so many people, which I get it. I have that too. Like, I get pissed off at people. I have, been burned by a lot of people that didn't have their shit together, and that fell back on me, and I've had to deal with that. And I do have some bitterness and resentment about that and those situations and those types of people. But, this specific person, I'm kind of noticing, they kind of don't seem to realize that I don't really see the world the way that they do. They don't really view minorities as having any kind of issues. They're very victim blaming, very like, ideas that like some black people, back when people were enslaved, that, there are a lot of black people that maybe they fought back or whatever, but they don't really see like the systemic issues with what black people have to deal with in the United States. They don't really see issues with, people who are like LGBT. They don't really see, their eyes are just closed, to so many things that I'm like, how do you not see this? I mean, I know how they don't see it because they don't interact with anybody, any variety of people. They've got just this negative view of every type of person. I wouldn't say that they are like a white supremacist or anything like that. They don't believe that way. I'm not going to go that far. But they're just oblivious. So that's already hard enough, like knowing that they kind of don't see that there are systems in place, even if it's not ethnic, even if it's not, homophobia and things like that, or racism, other things, like with people who have financial issues or whatever, like they've got these views that I'm just like, what the hell? What? Like, I just don't see eye to eye. And I'm used to not, like, I don't really care if I see eye to eye with people. That's not really, something that's gonna make or break a friendship for me. But, for me, it's kind of like if somebody wants to keep on trying to start a debate because they know what they think and they want me to like contribute to a discussion so that they can tell me how many ways that they think I'm wrong, it's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not, like, why the hell would I want to engage in a conversation like that? That's not a conversation. Like, you're not even listening to what I have to say. I'm not even listening to what they have to say at this point, because I'm not really into that whole, like, pick apart a group of people and focus on all the stuff that's wrong. Um, they have this kind of way about them where they don't really like Jews. I mean, to me, that is a big, like, what the fuck? Like, how do you start bashing Jews? Like, you're gonna send me messages where you're talking crap about Jews? Like, Jews this and Jews that. You're gonna send me messages talking crap about Christians, religious people in general, and I'm just like, that's not my experience. I'm sorry that that's your experience, that you think everyone who's part of a religion, or everybody who's, you know, you know, homosexual or LGBT, or anybody who's, an ethnic minority. I'm sorry that you think that, there's no systemic oppression, and that everybody who's religious is against you, as well as everybody who has all kinds of other issues, always talking about different types of people being authoritarian and all. It's like, I don't want to listen to that. I don't care. Like it's one thing if somebody's talking about, oh, like, I have this specific person in my life, how do I deal with this issue? That's a little different than, if you have someone who has specific issues in their life and they want to talk about, okay, how do I get past this with this person? How do I deal with that? What do you think? That's a different conversation than like 20 to 50 messages about why, just some theory on like why Muslim people suck or something like that. It's like, why would I want to engage with anything like that? Like, why would I care? Like, I don't think Muslims suck. I love Muslims. I love Christians. I love atheists. I love all kinds of people. Like, it's the individual person. I don't really look at the whole group that they're in and be like, oh, they suck. It's like, there's going to be sucky people in every group, but I don't really group everybody together, because I know enough people of different backgrounds to know that it's not true. I can't be, prejudiced against Muslims, because I know enough Muslims that are great, nice friends, that I know that is bullshit to say that they're all, messed up in the head or something. I know that, Jews get a bad rap from people, but I know enough Jews to know that, they're not all the stereotype. It's like, I don't know. I just don't engage with that kind of ignorance. And to me, it's kind of at a point where, I just kind of had to say, I'm not worried about any of this kind of stuff. I don't think about it. It's a waste of time and energy, and I'm focused over here on these other things, and that's all I really have to say. Like, you can keep on sending me messages about all this stuff, but it's like, I don't know what you want me to do about it. I'm not going to respond, like, I don't mind talking music. I don't mind talking about art. I don't mind, I don't even mind talking about religion and race and all that kind of stuff. But with certain people, it's like, we're not having an intelligent conversation and sharing ideas and learning new things. We're stuck in this fear of like all this negativity about groups of people. And I'm like, well, if this isn't directly impacting me today, then why the heck am I spending any energy thinking about it? I don't have any Jews in my life right now that are actively doing anything to me this Sunday. I don't have any Muslims doing that either. I don't have any Christians necessarily doing that either. There's nobody that I know today that's messing with me, or anybody recently that's messed with me too much. There's maybe like 2 people that I've talked about that, have their religious ways about them, and I try to kind of have a sort of boundary that works for me so that I can stay interactive with this person when it's suitable. But other than that, I'm like, I don't have energy for all that kind of social nonsense. I don't have energy for it anymore. I'm not putting up with it anymore. I don't really care. My energy, my time, my rules. And not just that though, it's like what I'm saying about, this whole season of you know, of adapting. Like, not only that stuff I mentioned with the student loans, but with the, like, people socially freaking out around me. Like, I'll be there for them, but it's, I'll be there as much as I have energy to be there, as much as I feel like I want to use that energy to be there. And when I don't want to use that energy for others anymore, I will now hold that energy for myself, because it is not fair, for people to expect anything of me. Like, I got nothing. I'm putting all my energy into my own projects, into my own career goals. I don't think it's fair for people to assume that I've got anything better going on for myself than they have. Like, I'm basically working oftentimes for free. I've got a lot that I'm dealing with, and so I don't have energy for people's nonsense. They can go figure out what they got to go figure out. If you want to hang, I'll be here, but it can't be just that. It can't be something that's going to be getting in my way. When I have to put down what I've got to do to go spend hours and hours with somebody, it's like, with somebody else's situation that they can handle. I mean, I don't know what else to do when I give somebody resources of what they can use and then they don't use them. It's like, they just want my time. They just want to talk. It's like, I don't want to talk. Here's the resources you need. Take this and go. Go. Just take it and go. Like, what am I getting out of it? I'm getting nothing out of it but wasted energy, and I feel like a jerk saying it. I do feel like a jerk saying it, but I think it's time for me to be a jerk. I haven't been, like, usually I let it get to a point where, it gets in my way, and I let it get in my way. Think about the housemates I lived with before. I let those fuckers get in my way. They got in the way of my sleep. They got in the way of how I made the choices of what foods I was going to eat and how much money I spent on my food, because I didn't want to spend time and energy cooking in the kitchen because these people were so obnoxious and had very poor boundaries. I didn't want to get stuck in the kitchen because they would find an opportunity with their loneliness to come and talk to me, because now I'm in the kitchen. It's like, you're going to be there at least 15 to 30 minutes cooking something, so I would try to do oven related meals where it's just turn on the oven, preheat it, come back, throw something in there, and then come back. Hopefully there's not a lot of cleanup, come back and just take it to my room and eat it in minimal amount of time in the kitchen. But, when you have cooking times that are overlapping with other people and all this stuff, it just became a mess. I was like, I'll go to KFC down the street and eat my meal. I'm not, I'm going to pay for it and eat it. And when there's stuff like that every day where it's like, yeah, there's a kitchen, but do you want to use it? With all these crazy people in there. Like, there's already too much interaction as it is. Like, with somebody loud through the walls and waking me up and knocking on the doors and people arguing with each other and stuff. I'm like, I put up with that for probably like almost 3 years. And that was my own fault. That was definitely my own fault. But I'm learning as I go. And, that's one thing. It's like, this is a year of adapting, like, change what's not working. And, if there's certain things that aren't working for me, I'm no longer trying to hold on to them. I'm not saying that I'm not going to, like, put in effort to things that potentially would work out. I'm just saying I'm not putting in energy to things that I know are taking my energy away from other stuff that I need to put the energy towards. I mean, I guess the good thing when I'm in LA is that I don't really have a lot of people pulling me in different directions to go party and do stuff. So I'm pretty focused, but also the partying does kind of break up my week, and it does kind of help me to kind of, be able to get really comfortable. So Like, I don't know. Like, it's a lot of hard things that I have to sit and think about. Like, yesterday, I spent a while thinking on these digital projects and kind of what the next steps look like. What my savings needs to look like, all this kind of stuff. I sat with it yesterday and I was like, I put in a little bit of work and was like, this is what I need to do. I kind of wrote out what I need to do for the next steps for anything that was like a digital related project. Like, these are the next steps of where I'm trying to go with these things. I'm dealing with all these crazy platforms, like changing all the rules and everything. And it's like, when the rules change, the money changes. And it's not necessarily always for the best. Usually when the rules change, I start losing money. And so it's like, for me, it's worth my energy to try to figure that out. And these things, when you're self-taught, it takes so much energy, and there's a lot of stuff. It's like, you can't go to like major in digital marketing necessarily. Like, that's not really like something you can do. You can, but the information's going to be outdated by the time you graduate. Like, it moves so fast. Like, anything online moves so fast. Like, even if you think about the Rona in 2019, I think a lot of us knew about Skype, Zoom, those kind of platforms, but who really cared? Like, unless you were seeing clients online or had work meetings online, which was rare. I feel like back then it was rare. You weren't really on those a lot. Like, I feel like I only used Skype for work. Before that, I used to use it for video chats and just like messaging people. And then after that fact, I used it for, well, I guess our work kind of canceled it at one point, and then started using I don't know what they were just using other platforms. We used Zoom, and then we used Microsoft Teams, and then we had a lot of things cracking down because I think something in our company got hacked. It was a mess. Like, we had some security risks going on. I remember that was like October, before I left. We kind of weren't able to access our email, which means we couldn't do that however many two-factor authentication, because everything went through the email. So you couldn't even like start working because it's like, what the heck is going on? So yeah, we had a while to deal with all that nonsense, but I usually felt pretty like, when it comes to things changing around me with technology, when I'm in it, it's easy to kind of adapt, but I gotta stay with the momentum of it. And I haven't really given up yet, but I am kind of venturing out on my own more with like freelancing types of work, and so kind of promoting services more. I'm not really going to talk about it much, but basically anything that I've figured out of how to, it's mostly SEO related stuff with ranking and monetization and different things like that. Like, who doesn't want that, right? So, like, I'm doing what I can to kind of make sure that I'm on top of things, and pretty much have been helping people out with their sites. So that's kind of as far as I've gotten. And Yeah, I've got a lot to do today. There's a lot ahead of me, and I'm gonna be online till about 11 or so, and then go get some deliveries in. But yeah, it can be a little bit tiring. Uh, but yeah, I'll be out and about later, but I don't know. I think that's all I have to say for now. So with that, thanks for listening.